I saw this on The Gamer. No shame. Gamers view save states and rewind features as critical to retro gaming replays. This was written by Quentin O'Connor. What they're talking about here, if you have not played some of these retro game collections or the online services like they have on the Switch, they now have where you can save the game at any time, and a lot of them you can rewind. So if you die, die doing a jump, you missed the jump and die, let me just rewind and we'll try that jump again. Why this is controversial? Because back in the day, you could only save if the game allowed you to and it had a battery on the card, or if it came with a password, and you definitely weren't rewinding. But if you died and it was game over, it was game over. So a lot of people that are against this are normally the crowd of back in my day, which I would fit into that age range, right? Back in my day, we didn't have save states and rewind features. I don't personally have an issue with it. I don't use them normally. Now take that back. The save states I would, because you know how we did a save state back in the day? We left our Nintendo on when we went to school. Or we left it on when we went to sleep and hoped that the power didn't go out. So technically we were doing save states our own way. You beat Ninja Gaiden 3 using save states. I just wanted to see the story, and no, I didn't really beat it though. Yeah, that's up to you. Because how did you use the save states? If you used it just to save and restart from there, I would consider that beating it. Now, if you game overed and kept restarting from the save state, then yeah, I mean, that's iffy. I guess. I don't know, because you couldn't back in the day. That was the thing. Game overs were game overs. You couldn't reload the save. So I guess it's how you did that. But, I mean, the reason why I'm not against those is if it gets people to experience these games that they normally wouldn't, I think that's cool. I don't like the rewind part. Yeah, I don't think I've ever used rewind unless I was trying to learn something. But yeah, if you're just rewinding all your deaths, I wouldn't think that would count. So, oh yeah, I beat that game. Did you really? But I don't have a problem that you did it. Play the game however you want. But I don't think you can say you beat the game, right? You kept restarting parts that you couldn't pass. But see, like in that case, I actually did that one time. So here's my save state story. That's how I learned Castlevania. On the Wii U, the first time I beat Castlevania, I learned save states because I learned how to beat the levels that I couldn't beat. But to me, I didn't beat Castlevania. But I learned the game that way so I could go back, and then I beat it normally because I had practice with save states. So I think that's a good place for like rewinding and saving, is to learn the game so that you now know how to play it and get better at it, and then you go in and you beat it the right way. I think that's kind of cool. I never use rewind, and I use save states only here. I feel there should be checkpoints. You don't have to leave your console on overnight. That's how we did save states back in the day. Might as well just watch a playthrough if you're using the rewind. Yeah, that's true, but you can't learn the timing of pressing the buttons, you know, if you're learning the game. I don't like rewinds. I won't let myself go back because I play like it's my alternative life and you can't go back. Yeah, that's the boss in my underwear. I did do that. Yeah, that's a thing too. I've tried to get myself out of that, where I pick a choice in a game and I don't like the result, which I've done in the past. I'm going to reload it and do the other thing. I'm trying to make myself do that because I think that's the best way to immerse yourself into the game. Whatever you choose, that's your choice, and now navigate the rest of the game with that choice. Long before Souls-like entered the gaming lexicon, it was generally taken for granted that plenty of games would be tough as nails by design. And that was the other thing too. These games were hard as hell. These retro games. Gamers of all ages frequently boot up retro games, and younger players who weren't around when Mario first saved the day might rely on save states to blitz through Super Mario Bros. Today. Veterans of the retro scene will often do the same. And with the advent of things like Nintendo Switch Online's built-in rewind feature, it's easier than ever to overcome frustratingly tough game designs from bygone eras. But how does it all make you feel? And we've kind of discussed that already, but that's the thing too. If a younger player turns on the Nintendo Switch Online and they see this, it's kind of presented like as you're supposed to use this. Like Nintendo's kind of saying, here, you can rewind, you know, so if you die, just rewind, you can do it. So Nintendo kind of presents that, here, you're supposed to be using this feature. if a lot of kids are getting to experience these classics that they wouldn't play otherwise, because think about this. Back in the day, if you sucked at a game, you didn't have all these other options to go try out. You didn't have a Game Pass or Nintendo Switch Online or whatever. You kept playing the freaking game because it was the only one you had. So you had to get better at it. Today, if a kid plays one of these hard games, they may just say, forget it, I'm going to play something else. Which is kind of a shame, but understandable because that's today's society. If this save state and rewind allows them to experience these classic games, I think that's cool. Save states, is that the same as autosave? No. Save states is you creating your own save at any point in time and able to reload that exact moment in time again. So while an autosave saves your progress, like it's a checkpoint and you would reload and restart that point, this actually starts at the exact moment you saved at, and you can do it as many times as you want. It's like giving everyone a trophy for just showing up instead of actually accomplishing something. I agree with that. Yeah, I don't think it should count like, oh yeah, I beat the game just like you did if you use save states and rewinds. But if it gets them interested in those games, I don't have an issue with it. But yeah, they shouldn't be running around saying, hey, I beat the game when, you know, come on, you rewound that same part 15 times. Do you use save states when playing challenging retro games? And if so, do you feel guilty about it? Like I said, I did that for Castlevania to learn the game. So there was no guilt involved because I wasn't using it to say, oh, I did it, I finally beat Castlevania. I was doing it to learn the game so then I could beat Castlevania. I never had a feeling of guilt in it. So I wonder if that's the thing. I bet you the older you are, the more likely you are to feel guilty about it because you know what you're doing. You know what you've done. Whereas younger people might not know what they've done. So if you didn't save, in a lot of these games, it's game over. You have to start over. Because of these older games, that's how they were. You'd get like 3 lives, and that's it. You lose those 3 lives. If you don't get any 1-ups or anything, the game's over. But if you save when you only have 1 life left and you die, you could reload that save state and still have that 1 life left and start again where you died. Whereas you couldn't do that in the games originally. So that's where like the guilt part comes into it. So somebody says, when it comes to using save states, or God forbid rewind, in retro games that emphasize challenge in particular, I used to feel that using save states was robbing oneself of the game's intended experience. Basically the same line of reasoning some have used to argue against difficult settings in Souls games. But also, the intended experience was different back then because, you know, they wanted you to rent the games and not be able to beat it, so then you had to buy it, so they were made more difficult on purpose. So there was a lot of things that went into that, right? But when we just remember the game as itself, yeah, it was a hard game, we're intended to beat it as is. If you do these other things, you're cheapening the experience. I get that too. Like, I get both sides. I get both sides of this. But the challenge back then was mostly difficulty spikes to make the games last longer. That's another thing too. If you can beat the game without dying, these games are very short in general. Someone else says, plenty of hard retro games difficulty comes from having to be sent back through challenging gauntlets, often with limited lives, and continues that you've already cleared because of a single cheap shot sending you plummeting to instant death. That's something I complain about to this day, is busy work. Ninja Gaiden, for some reason, changed the rules when you got to the sixth level. Because if you game over on 6-4, you would get set back to 6-1, and you would have to beat 1, 2, and 3 all over again. That's ridiculous. So a lot of that stuff was busy work. So yeah, I think that was cheap too. But that is the game's original experience. So again, I think this just goes to people's own personal feelings about it. Because let's think about this. If you actually got a trophy or a medal or a permanent record of the games you've beaten, you ain't getting a medal if you beat it using a save state or a rewind. That's just reality. So this isn't some professional thing. These are just people having fun playing video games, and they can do it however the hell they want. It doesn't affect the rest of us. But if this was ever some real life competition, you ain't getting credit for that. So I think that's understood. I'm not a fan of forced play boss gauntlets without a checkpoint. That's the one thing. We played through the Turtles games this year, the older Turtle games. That was my problem with the Hyperstone Heist. Is level 4 is just a boss gauntlet of all the bosses you've already beat. And that's the one thing that will always put that game below Turtles in Time to me. Sadly, some gamers don't tell the truth. I think a lot of gamers don't tell the truth. They act like they're amazing when they beat this game, when they did, but did they? Exactly. So you have to take what a lot of people say with a grain of salt. Yes, I agree with that. So somebody else says, I have to pay taxes, cook, work, clean, and enjoy life. Why on God's green earth would I waste the very precious few moments I have to game redoing an entire stage and boss because I died once in some archaic save and checkpoint system that probably wasn't even fair on release and very likely only existed to artificially extend playtime? We just talked about that. That's exactly why they existed. One of the reasons anyway. I mean, that's a good point. That's their life. Do it how you want. If you only got a certain amount of time to play games, then spend it how you can. But if this person went around and said, oh yeah, I beat that game, it was easy. Yeah, well, now you're full of shit. But I don't have a problem with that, them playing the game how they want to play the game, because Nintendo allows them to do that. And it's not just Nintendo. A lot of those older collections, the Turtles games that I was talking about, that's because they suck. That could be too. That could be too. I suck at Castlevania. That's why I had to learn how to play it with a save state. I think it's because they fear other gamers are going to judge them as not a real gamer. That's a thing. I mean, that was a thing as a kid. It's also a thing as an adult, which is very childish. That people act that way. But yeah, that I guarantee you that is a fear. Oh, you suck. You couldn't beat Castlevania. So I'm going to beat Castlevania with a save state and just show that I beat Castlevania so people don't think that I'm not a real gamer. I agree with the people that say you didn't really beat the game if you rewind. I agree with that 8 million %. I also agree, if you use a save state just to save your place, because you can't beat it in one sitting because you got to go to work or whatever it is, you got to go to bed, and then you pick up from that spot the next day, to me that's no different than leaving the console on while you're at school for a full day. So I don't have a problem with that either. I think it just comes down to everybody's personal preference, honestly. If you like save states and it gets you to play the games, then frickin' use them. Who cares? And if you don't, you like to do it the old way, awesome, do it that way. Unless it ever comes to a point where on your driver's license, besides your address and your height and your weight, they also have games that you beat. Until we get to that point, I don't think save states is that big of a deal.